Plaintiff Elizabeth Clare was married to the defendant, and they have a child together. Elizabeth says the defendant was physically and verbally abusive throughout their relationship, and the abuse continued after the divorce. She's suing her ex for unpaid child support. Defendant Stephen Clare insists he never abused Elizabeth and says all of their problems are a direct result of Elizabeth's drinking. Stephen is countersuing because Elizabeth called CPS on him, claiming he was a drug dealer who was growing marijuana in his basement.
Start with you.
I met Mr. Clare in 1997. I was a sophomore in high school. A year after I graduated, I became pregnant. 2 months later, we were married, and we moved to North Carolina because he had enlisted in the Army. Shortly after I got to North Carolina, the relationship went downhill quickly. Basically, physical abuse started. I called the police numerous times down there. I've had nothing but emotional problems with this man, basically from day one.
Was he ever arrested?
No, I was 19 years old at the time, and I refused to press charges. I was young and stupid. The whole relationship, I should have reevaluated from day one before I ever made the decision.
So he was emotionally abusive in what way?
Emotionally abusive in that he tore me down. He was also physically abusive.
Tell me, I know about the physical. Tell me about the other.
Fat, ugly, nobody would want me. It was a constant with him.
Why do you think he was doing these things?
Control me, possibly keep me with him, because that's when the physical abuse had started at that time too. You
were trying to leave him?
Yeah, I was very unhappy, and I was really pushing to try to make it work because I was young and I wanted our family to stay together. The abuse.
You say you're trying to leave him?
Well, I wanted to leave. I knew leaving was the right thing to do, but
if he didn't do it because you were trying to leave, why do you think he was doing it?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. I think that you should give a little thought to why he was doing that so you can have a little closure and clarity in your mind, because you still seemed emotionally damaged about it. If you got some clarity, at least you would perhaps get some closure. If he's mentally ill, then you can say that. Okay, that's why he was doing that. He has an anger problem that comes from his childhood. That's why he's doing that. But you don't know. You could have internalized the things that he did to you. Because that's what happens when women are abused. Sometimes they think it's something they did. And they remain in emotional wreck because they're like, I don't know why this happened. And maybe I did do something. Maybe I am no good. Maybe I do deserve this. Because that is very damaging, not only to you physically, but to your psyche. You got some clarity, at least you would perhaps get some closure. He has an anger problem that comes from his childhood. That's why he's doing that. But you don't know. You could have internalized the things that he did to you. Because that's what happens when women are abused. Sometimes they think it's something they did.
Plaintiff Elizabeth Clare was married to the defendant, and they have a child together. And the defendant says Elizabeth called CPS on him, claiming he was growing marijuana in his basement.
When were you finally brave enough to get out of the situation?
I left a year and a half after I got down there in August of 2002. Basically, what the final trigger was is I found out he was still abusing drugs.
What type of drugs was he using?
Marijuana.
Oh, marijuana don't make you do that. Matter of fact, it does the opposite. People smoke marijuana to chill out. He's so mad, he angry. Give him a joint, he'll cool out. Go right to sleep. All right. So what has been the communication since then?
We got divorced in November 2006. Basically, the time before that, just to give you a little bit better understanding between the separation and the divorce, it was constant harassment. There was another child that was conceived during that separation period of time. It was nothing but phone calls, demeaning again, calling me calling me all kinds of words that shouldn't have been used. It continuously tore me down. I didn't have a solid relationship up until recently. Since then, the abuse and the mental abuse has not only gone to myself,
what is he doing?
To my daughter.
What is he doing now?
He's got 2 DUIs.
What has he done to you?
Me?
You said it hasn't stopped him
text
harassing.
Messages.
Saying what?
Emails, calling me a liar, telling me I'm a poor excuse for a mother.
What has caused this? This is over the child?
I'm assuming
disagreements over the child? Okay. All right, sir, let me hear your side, and then we'll get to the child support you're suing about.
Yes, sir. The way that she explained it is half true at best. A lot of our
So
problems,
you're half a woman beater.
No, no, sir.
One DUI.
No, no. I do have 2 DUIs. I've never hit her. I've never said the things that she is coming out here saying today. I've never called her fat. I've never called her ugly, and I don't speak to women like that. I don't. Okay.
You've
The only
never
reason-
physically assaulted her.
Never once, sir.
That's a
why
lie.
I was never arrested.
That is a lie.
I was never. Nothing ever came of any of this that she's discussing.
Because I never pressed charges.
Your Honor, she drinks like a fish. All right, and the only reason that we had the
lie, too.
problems that we did is because every day she would be highly intoxicated. Okay, and as far as the reason she left, you know, she never wanted to be in North Carolina. She never wanted to come down to Fort Bragg where I was at. She wanted to live at home with her parents forever, and to this day, she still lives at home with her parents. You know.
What reason did she tell you she wanted to leave?
She wanted to be at home with her parents. She was homesick. You know, she was 900 miles from her
People
parents.
don't leave their husband and their family because they're homesick. I don't know about that, sir. There has to be some other problems.
Well,
You're suing for child support. How does he owe you for that?
Since 2002, when I got separated from him and came home, we had a legal court order for $250 a month. That stayed the same all the way up until 2006 when we got divorced. And at that time, he was $7,401 behind. He was ordered to pay $150 a week. He did catch up on that arrears. For the past 3 years, he hasn't had a job. He basically refuses to get a job. I also have a witness statement in here from his other child's mom, who's became my best friend. We have a mutual problem, lack of better term.
He's problematic to her as well now.
He's $8,000 behind with her too.
And how much with you?
Like 5626.
You have anything there? Document from child support agency?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
she is a fundamentally dishonest person, Your Honor.
Fundamentally dishonest.
Fundamentally dishonest.
All right. All right. We're going to see if she's lying about this child support. She's lying about that?
No, sir, she's not lying.
Do you owe $5,000?
Yes, sir.
At least $5,600?
But she
Why
wants.
is she here? She's here
she
to air
wants a
your
lump
dirty
sum.
laundry?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're exactly right. She wants a lump sum payment, and she wants to, pretty much just put me on blast for the world.
All right.
That's a lie.
The way that she explained it is half true at best. A lot of our
So
problems.
you're half a woman beater.
No, no, sir.
One DUI.
No,
Right.
no.
Plaintiff Elizabeth Clare was married to the defendant, and they have a child together. And the defendant says Elizabeth called CPS on him, claiming he was growing marijuana in his basement.
Your counterclaim for emotional distress, how does she owe you $1,000?
Okay, sir, if I could, there were overpayments that were made on the child support, okay, that she did not return all of the overpayments to me. She returned sporadically, maybe 2 or 3 overpayments of $120, but I've made closer to $700.
But you
worth of-
admit you still owe her $5.
Yes, sir.
But how has she caused you emotional distress other
Yes,
than
sir.
asking for her child support?
In January, she called CPS. She told CPS I was growing marijuana in my basement. She told CPS I was a drug dealer. And, she made many accusations. A CPS agent showed up at my house unannounced.
Bought some weed.
To buy some weed? They didn't come to buy weed. Stop. Go ahead.
But the agent did come to my door. It was an unannounced visit, and she told me the nature of the complaints that were made against me. Okay, growing marijuana in the basement, I thought that was very serious. I let her come in the house at that time, and we walked through my entire home.
Okay.
And to
What
me,
was the final report?
I have a copy of it right here, sir, if you'd like to read it, or if you want me to just read it out loud.
Let's see it, please.
Yeah, here's the...
It was unfounded, obviously.
It was
Your Honor, if I
unsubstantiated.
may.
All right.
I do have a comment on that part. My 10-year-old daughter can describe what a marijuana plant looks like, what grow lights look like. There's been a friend of the family who was asked to be kept private, which is why I have to keep it out of family court too, that Mr. Clare has told that he has plants growing in his basement for an extra income.
Your Honor, I
he has
drive
a
a
history of
cab
it.
in Gary, Indiana for extra income.
He has a history of drug abuse. There's people that live in his household that have felonies on drug charges.
Who told you he was growing marijuana, ma'am? And is that what you reported?
Yes, that is exactly what I
Who
reported.
told you that?
A family friend of his.
Little
here.
birds.
All right.
And my daughter, basically, that can describe what it looks like in his basement.
And she
told me.
said he was growing it in the basement.
She said she went downstairs to get a game, and when she came around the corner, there was a plant there. She can draw what the leaves look like.
This says
and
the
light.
decision is based on the interviews with the father, the child, and other family members. Do you have anything where she told them what you're alleging?
No, I
Because
don't,
he
Aaron.
provides me with something that says what she told Child Protective Services, and that was no such thing.
No, I don't, Your Honor.
All
I
right,
was
so I'm going to
advised-
believe what I read.
Thank you, sir.
And that is that the Child Protective Services interviewed your daughter, and your daughter said no. So I'm going to grant your judgment for emotional distress, $1,000. However, you are going to have to pay the $5,000 child support. Judgment for the plaintiff and the defendant.
Thank you.
My daughter and I are going to have a lot of long talks about exactly what she's seen. We are pursuing it in family court. He's still a drug addict, and it's just a matter of time before he gets caught up. He's still drinking and driving. He's still doing the same old tricks.
I drive a cab in Gary, Indiana. I rely on my license. I don't drink and drive. And you better talk to her. That way she knows what story to give the CPS people the next time you
I
take her
definitely
in.
will. You
yeah,
won't have
you
to
better.
worry.
You better get your story right.
Won't have to worry,
Good
I
game.
will.
Good game. You did a good job in there today. Good game.